guys, welcome to this week's TNA Assist podcast. Myself, Rithwik, the host, and I'm today joined by my co-host, Chris. Hey, Chris.
Hi, mate. You okay?
Yeah, all good, all good. The situation in India is kind of, it's really, really bad. But yeah, kind of holding on right now here, staying at home, kind of isolating and stuff.
Yeah, mate. That's good. Good to hear. Just stay as safe as possible. It's pretty shameful what I'm hearing or what I'm reading. You don't know what. Obviously, the news these days, you don't know what to believe, do you? But by all accounts, it's quite horrific over there at the moment. So obviously, just make sure yourself and your family stay safe.
Exactly, mate. And yeah, in today's episode, we didn't have an episode last week, so probably we'll make up for that with a couple of episodes in probably the coming weeks, or maybe even this week as well, if everything goes according to plan. But today's agenda mainly is the UEFA Champions League discussion, the semi-finals, and also some patron question from our one of our biggest supporters, Dieter Van Gucht, who's also our big patron as well. So we'll start off with the Champions League. PSG versus Manchester City. Manchester City. No, it was really a game of two halves. First half,
Absolutely.
Dominant by PSG. They kind of restricted Manchester City's movements. Phil Foden was playing down the left-hand side in the wider areas. PSG kind of stayed compact. They didn't allow Manchester City to build up through the middle. It was kind of a 4-4-2 off the ball. PSG got that one goal lead, Marquinhos' header, which was a well-worked set piece. They kind of troubled Man City even more in set pieces in the same half. But come into the second half, the game completely changed. Riyad Mahrez' free kick and, what happened with the red card incident as well, Idrissa Gana Gueye. And especially being an Everton fan, you have memories of Gana Gueye, being good and also like kind of rash at times. So it was probably one of, I wouldn't say surprising result, because I thought it would have probably ended in a draw. The way the first half was going, I thought PSG would kind of dominate and get one more goal and shut the shop. But Manchester City found a way to come back in the second half. So before moving on to some tactical aspects, though, I want to know what your take on the game was, this overall take.
Yeah, pretty much what you just said. I can't really disagree with too much of it. It was Paris Saint-Germain were by far the better team in the first half. I think it's been over exaggerated slightly. Well, I wouldn't even say slightly. It's been over exaggerated how good Manchester City were. I thought in the second half, what PSG dominated the game in the first half. Played at a really high tempo, transition from defence to attack really quickly. And it looked at times that Manchester City just weren't going to be able to cope. I thought Neymar was exceptional, especially in the first half. And I think what really killed PSG was the half-time whistle, more than Guardiola's tactics. All Manchester City done in the second half really was slow the tempo of the game got down and just keep control of the ball. And once that breakthrough come, both goals happened in a 10-minute period, didn't they? And then after that, this PSG team showed the same flaws that it has year in, year out. They're not that good at chasing a game of football. When they're 1-0 behind or a goal behind in any way, and they have to go and chase the game, they become very erratic and very dysfunctional. And I thought the actual game itself was over as soon as Manchester City got the second. I didn't see PSG coming into it. I thought they tired as well. PSG in the second half, they showed, and it showed as well. And they just couldn't keep up with Manchester City regaining the ball quickly than what they did in the first half, and keeping the ball as good as what they did.
Yeah, and in the second half, though, Chris, there was one substitution by Guardiola which completely changed the tie around. The game around, and probably the tie as well. That substitution of Joao Cancelo. He took off Cancelo and he brought on Zinchenko in. And Cancelo was not having a good game. He actually picked up an early yellow card for.
Yeah, it was because he was on the yellow, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, bad tackle on Mbappe, and he was kind of being, controlling, or he was like controlling his instincts as well, and he had to care as well, because going a man down probably would have been disastrous for them, considering how good PSG's attack was. But
Yeah,
Cancelo went off, Zinchenko came in. Phil Foden, who is probably found most times on the left-hand side, in the wider areas of the left-hand side for Manchester City, kind of drifted inside more often, while Zinchenko pushed upwards. So
yeah,
this one particular change probably helped City, build more pressure into the central areas of the pitch. Verratti mostly was found on the left side, left side of 4-4-2, off position, out of position for PSG, probably playing as kind of a compact left-sided midfielder. Paredes and Idrissa Gana Gueye centrally tucked in, providing support for the central defenders. But if you saw the free kick, right, the one which Riyad Mahrez scored, Phil Foden won the foul, and that was through intricate kick 1-2 play where Foden's movements in the central areas probably confused the PSG players, and he was probably finding those pockets of space, and that's when the foul was made. I think it was Idrissa Gana Gueye, if I'm not wrong, once again, who made that foul, and Mahrez scored. So this one change probably for me was a really, really good one from Pep Guardiola. And one thing which I really want to emphasize is that Guardiola didn't overthink this time out. He has kind of found a method early this season to keep City running, going through this pandemic board. That's worked for him in the league. That's worked for him in the FA Cup until the semi-final. That worked for him in the Carabao Cup. That thing has worked for him in the Champions League so far. He went with the same logic this time. He went with the same idea this time out as well. He did not overthink. He did not overcomplicate things as well. And I think that probably, kind of didn't make it any worse for City as well. So kudos to Guardiola for the first leg. The second leg is going to be really, really interesting, though.
yeah. I mean, I slightly disagree with the substitution aspect of it. I've seen a lot of people saying it. Don't get me wrong, I thought Zinchenko done really well when he'd come on. But if Cancelo's on that yellow card, Guardiola doesn't make that substitution. Obviously, when Zinchenko come on, obviously he kept the width a little bit better, which allowed Foden to play a little bit more centrally, I suppose, or move into the half space a little bit more, because obviously we know that's a space that Cancelo's been occupying more often than not this season, playing as, I quote the term, an inverted fullback. But yeah, I just thought it would have been interesting. Obviously, I thought the first goal was quite fortuitous. I thought both goals were quite fortuitous, really, in terms of just that little bit of a break, obviously, with the Mahrez free kick and the wall situation, and obviously De Bruyne's effort turning, eventually ending up in the back of the net. So again, I don't want to dampen the spirits. Obviously, I certainly don't agree with Gary Lineker's comment anyway. Don't know if you've seen that about this is the greatest English performance in European history away from home, or something of that nature. I thought that was just ridiculous, to be honest. But I just thought I'm just not buying the hype at this point of the performance. I thought it was a very good 45 minutes in which they got a little bit lucky. They controlled the game, but that's nothing new for Manchester City. We're used to them playing in that way. I thought throughout the game they showed a bit of a lack of a cutting edge, but once they got the second goal, PSG just they lost all functionality. They lost all functional ability from a tactical perspective, and they were never getting back in the game. And then once you do that, that plays into Manchester City's hands. But like you said, it'll be interesting to see what happens in the second leg now, because I noticed Maurizio Pochettino said afterwards he's not going to change a thing. I don't know if that will be entirely accurate. I think he will have to change something, because they are going to have to chase the game. So I envisioned them starting the game in the same way. I see them trying to attack Manchester City at pace, trying to counter-attack when possible. I see them doing that, and that might just play into Manchester City's hands this time around, given the fact that Manchester City hold the 2-goal lead and also the 2 away goals.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, mate. I mean, it wasn't the most perfect performance, and I think Gary Lineker was obviously overblowing the whole game. I mean,
Yeah,
you expect that from him, obviously. So I didn't
yeah,
take him seriously for that. But yeah, it was probably a game of two halves, like I said initially as well. But you need luck in these sort of games. That's
oh
what
yeah, of
knockout
course you do.
games are
Yeah,
all about. And I think this
yeah,
two away goals that City have, that's the most important thing. Away goals is still a huge advantage. Having two goals away is like a huge advantage for Manchester City. PSG need two. PSG need to restrict City from scoring as well. A 2-0 win would still do it for them. Even a
yeah,
3-1 win would do it. But it's going to be hard because City are going to try to restrict PSG from attacking too much. But one
yeah,
positive thing which I saw in the game for PSG was Angel Di Maria, both halves. He was back out there helping his fullbacks, Florenzi, and on the right hand side, he was probably balling in the midfield as well, and probably not probably he had some really amazing passes as well, breaking pressure and passing under pressure as well, some long balls over the top to Mbappe, and that Verratti chance which might have probably given PSG the 2-0 lead and Manchester
yeah,
City a bit more to do had Verratti got a touch on that Mbappe cross. So Di Maria was really good in their game defensively as well as offensively for me, and I think he's still going to be a really important piece in the second leg, or an important player in the second leg if PSG want to go through.
yeah. I think he's been probably one of the most underrated players in world football now since possibly the 2014 World Cup, maybe even beyond that. Really, he's always played in a team that has had maybe more high profile or more players of a higher profile than himself. But yeah, he's a fantastic footballer. He's often maybe wrongly labelled because of his spell at Manchester United, and the fact that it didn't quite work out. But there's certainly mitigating factors in regards to that. The fact that he's not really a Louis van Gaal type of player in terms of the fact that he does like to roam from his position, and obviously there was personal circumstances because I think his house got burgled or held up or something of that nature. But yeah, he's a fantastic footballer, Di Maria, and I thought he was. Every time I see him, I don't think I've ever seen him have a bad game, but he never quite gets the sort of profile. I don't know. I know he was in the Real Madrid team with Ronaldo, etc. He's obviously in this PSG team with Neymar and Mbappe, who are obviously always going to get more plaudits. But he is really an exceptional footballer. He really is. Can play both left and right. He can chip in with goals. Some very good goals. Can cross the ball. His football brain as well. He's got a very. You can see he's got a very high football IQ, and the fact that of what he does on the pitch in terms of movement. And like I said, in this day and age of pressing and possessing, any footballer willing to trap back is worth his weight in gold.
Absolutely. So moving on from this game though, but before moving on, Chris, I just want to know, who do you think will win the tie? Who do you think will move on to the final?
Good question.
Neymar actually said that he'll do everything in his power to win the second leg.
Yeah. Do you know what? It's such a difficult tie because for me, you don't want to be playing Manchester City are the one team you don't want to be playing when you need to score. You need to go at them and score because you could play into their hands. It wouldn't surprise me if Sergio Aguero started this game for them, just to give them that clinical edge. If they need to, they need to be a bit more, which I think they do. They need to be a bit more, clinical in the final third. But as well, I thought PSG showed enough in the first half, in the first leg, that they can go out and win this game and score goals. I know they only got the one, but it wouldn't have surprised. I think anyone watching the game could have said maybe they should have had another one at least if their play was a little bit more decisive in the final third. So, I don't know. I really don't know, to be honest. I'm going to have to go with Manchester City. I think PSG have got that one obvious flaw, and they still haven't got over it yet, is the fact that when they're chasing a game, they don't seem to be patient. Everyone seems to be rushed, and they seem to be quite erratic. And Neymar just starts deciding he wants to play everywhere.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to give it to Manchester City to go through.
Same here as well. I think that 2 goals away probably will help them, and they can shut down the game. They've been so good at shutting down games, shutting down chances for opposition, or good quality chances for opposition this season. And I think they'll probably do more of the same against PSG at the Etihad.
Yeah, plus Idrissa Gana Gueye suspended, isn't he? And
yeah,
he's actually a big player for PSG whenever I've seen them play. He really is. And I think that midfield area, PSG still got a few question marks over it. It's a little bit misbalanced, I think. So whether Verratti plays, be interesting to see what role he plays in the second leg. But yeah, I think only Manchester City themselves can mess this up from here.
Absolutely. Probably I might have spoken about Pep being properly Pep way too early.
Yeah.
Let's see though. But moving on to the second game, another big game, Chelsea versus Real Madrid. Yeah. Chelsea once again coming out with an away goal. It was a 1-1 draw. I think it was probably kind of an even game. At the end, I thought it was probably an even game because Chelsea started the game really, really well. And don't get me wrong, they should have really finished the game off early in the first half. So many chances. They took the game to Real Madrid. Real Madrid couldn't cope up so early. They were struggling so bad. Timo Werner missing a huge opportunity, and that was actually a huge save from Thibaut Courtois. His positioning in the entire move, which led to that Timo Werner shot, was actually supreme. And you have to give credit to Thibaut Courtois, but Timo Werner really should have finished that. Big chance there. Christian Pulisic later went himself, scoring the crucial away goal, getting the lead before Karim Benzema, of all people. Karim Benzema has been Real Madrid's linchpin since Ronaldo has left, and I think we both of us have kind of talked about him. I guess in the last episode or the episode before the last one, I guess we spoke about Real Madrid's players, and Karim Benzema again bailing them out, getting that crucial goal. But later on, I saw Zinedine Zidane changing the structure a bit, and probably Chelsea were finding it a bit hard. So I think N'Golo Kante moving up the pitch, he had a man of the match performance. I thought N'Golo Kante was the man of the match in the game. He was moving up the pitch, attacking kind of like an 8, and you had Mason Mount just dropping in behind the top 2 players. Sometimes Chelsea looked like they had both the wing backs, Chilwell as well as Azpilicueta, up top supporting Timo Werner and Christian Pulisic. It was kind of a flat 4 up top when Chelsea had the ball in midfield, while Mason Mount kind of dropped right behind that front line to connect the play. N'Golo Kante and Jorginho progressing the ball as well. Kante kind of carried as well in multiple occasions. So Chelsea kind of played with a clear plan. They kind of almost pulled it out as well and probably ended the game in the first leg, but it still is game on because of 1-1.
Yeah.
What do you think of the game, Chris? Especially Real Madrid's performance, though.
I thought the game itself was quite entertaining. Well, especially the first half, but that was just purely from a Chelsea perspective. Like you said, they could have won the tie in the first half an hour. Also, I thought, and again, I've been impressed with Chelsea ever since Thomas Tuchel's come over. I think he's done an exceptional job, and it just shows how good his coaching is. The fact that the Chelsea players, as good as what they are, have actually playing like a Thomas Tuchel side and have been really since maybe the first 2 or 3 games of his tenure. But I thought the game itself was quite intriguing from a tactical point of view. It was interesting to see Real Madrid sort of switch to like a 3 at the back. I don't know if that was the plan to stay like that for an entire game, because I noticed sometimes, depending on the fullbacks and them shifting over, whether they were actually trying to shift between a 3 and a 4, or whether Chelsea were just that good, it just actually pinned them to a 5 at times. But yeah, and I thought as well, going back to the point you raised, I thought it was an excellent save, and I think Timo Werner took a bit of unnecessary stick for that miss, because I think sometimes when a striker misses, and don't go, I know it's easy to say strikers should always score, but if strikers scored every goal, every chance they missed, there'd be goal scoring records getting broke every season. I think sometimes you've got you've got to look at the goalkeeping side of that and just say, Joe, what, that fair play. It's just a very, very good piece of goalkeeping, like you said. But from Real Madrid's point of view, I mean, Zinedine Zidane's Real Madrid team are turning into quite an enigma, I think, because you always bet against them every year, or certainly did. There was even times when they won the 3 on a row, when I don't even think they were the best team in Spain or even Madrid, never mind Europe, but they seem to have a knack of being able to get through these big Champions League ties. They just have that know-how to get through. And again, that's what's showing this year. So at one point they looked down and out. So I thought there's only one team winning this, and then out of nowhere they get back into the game. And then I thought in the second half they sort of controlled the game. I thought a little bit better. Certainly got to grips with Chelsea a little bit better than what they did in the first half. But I just think this year, as good as what we've said and as good as what we've mentioned in previous podcasts, how good Karim Benzema has been this year, I just think they're a little bit over-reliant on him.
Yeah. That, I mean, you can see the statistics, obviously, and you see how much the difference is between Karim Benzema and the players.
I think what I mean by it is I think they're over-reliant on him to go through in this time. I still expect Chelsea to fully go through, because, again, the point that I raised there about this Real Madrid team, or Zinedine Zidane's Real Madrid teams, having that little bit of a know-how to get through these ties, and a little bit of... But I would say this Real Madrid team is slightly different in the fact that in years gone by, or especially when they won them 3 on the run, they've had other players that can produce match-winning moments, as where this Real Madrid team has only got one player that can produce match-winning moments for me. And I know they've had other players. I know there is other. I know Hazard is now starting to play, but I still think I'd be amazed if he starts seeing the best of him this season. So I still think Benzema's the over reliance on Benzema in that account. I don't think they'll go through.
I mean, I know a lot of people kind of are sleeping on Chelsea because, Frank Lampard kind of took this team. They have amazing depth. Frank Lampard had this team, but he did not fully use this. And you can see how well Thomas Tuchel has come in. I know he's changed a lot of things tactically. He's made them. Initially, he tried to make them defensively solid. Once that's been done, he's now kind of working on the attack as well. You can see more quick movements down in the attacking end of the pitch as well. When Chelsea play, they are definitely working on their attack right now. But defensively, I think since Thomas Tuchel took over the team, I think they've been like the best team defensively in the Premier League, probably even the Champions League as well, because they don't allow too many high quality chances at all. Or I mean, it's probably very, very, very hard to get a really good shot away against Chelsea, because most of the time you see the defenders blocking the shots, or you either see the defenders intercepting or winning tackles so easily, and the shot doesn't go through as well. Edouard Mendy doesn't get tested enough, to be honest, in my opinion, and that's been a characteristic of Thomas Tuchel's Chelsea so far, and that is something that needs to be emphasized, because that's one trait which probably differentiate you from winning a knockout tie, and probably struggling as well. So I think that one particular aspect that Tuchel has brought into this Chelsea squad is showing. And I think that was shown in the Real Madrid game as well, because Real Madrid didn't have too many chances either. And if Real Madrid are to go through, you would need Vinicius to do what he did to Liverpool in the first leg.
Yeah.
And that,
yeah.
and you, and the form Vinicius is in, or the way Vinicius has played in the last 1 year, he's full of flair. He is actually really good, but the output is just absolutely awful, sadly.
Yeah. Well, that's what I meant there. Exactly what I meant, Rithwik, when I said sort of, I know there's other players other than Benzema in the club that can have these moments, but they're just few and far between at this level at the moment, and I just don't see it. I really don't. Like you said, I think the way Tuchel's got Chelsea structured at the moment, I just think they're too strong at both ends of the pitch. They're always going to create chances against you. I think the way they play is fantastic. I really enjoy watching them. He is the epitome of a modern day coach, and I know a lot of people give him stick when he got the Chelsea job, more the English media really, because and that's probably heightened because of the fact that Chelsea got rid of an English manager. But the English media were sort of like, oh well, he's not that, just because he's won the league with PSG doesn't make him a good coach. Yeah, just because he won the league at PSG doesn't make him a good coach. He was already a good coach before he got the PSG job. The way he sets a team up, the way his teams press, the way they keep possession, the way they move the ball between the thirds, and the way he can apply the same principles and get his teams to play to the same principles, but change the system and change the formation and change the shape a number of times is just exceptional. He really is an exceptional coach, and I'm in full agreement with you. I just don't think PSG have got enough weapons to win this game.
Yeah.
I mean, Real Madrid.
Yeah. I got it.
Yeah.
So same opinion here, because I think this will once again be an all English final, because I think Chelsea have that too much strength this time out, and they actually have a really, really good manager in Thomas Tuchel, and I think he's going to pull them through. And because I mean, if I'm going to bet on anyone pulling a 0-0 draw, I think right now it's Thomas Tuchel, because of the reasons that I mentioned a few moments before. So probably, it's just my prediction though. I probably see a 0-0 game, or maybe Chelsea scoring one. Yeah, I don't see Real Madrid scoring. I just don't see Real Madrid scoring.
Yeah, I think Chelsea will win the game. I really do. I think they'll win the game. Maybe 1, maybe 2-0. Again.
Yeah, Real Madrid need a obviously, so they might have to push forward. So that probably ends the Champions League discussion. Both of us probably predicting the same thing this time out, though. An all-English final, which will be really, really interesting. Yes.
Yeah, it will be. And I've got my predictions who's going to win that already.
We'll wait for that. We'll wait for that.
Yeah, we'll wait for that one.
Moving on now to Dieter's questions, though, which are again really good. This is Bundesliga related, German football related. He sent us 5 questions. We'll take 3 right now, and we'll buffer the 2 of the remaining ones to the next episodes, because that probably makes a bit more sense. And since that's not German football related, that probably might fit our next week's agenda. So we'll take the 3 questions. First thing, Julian Nagelsmann to Bayern Munich, and for a huge fee as well. You see this transfer fee of 20-25 million euros, was it reported?
Yeah, that's what's reported, wasn't it? I've seen 19 million, but I think that was And
I heard that the German national team might play Bayern Munich, if I'm not wrong, to get the money, to get or to fund some of the money, and while Hansi Flick moves to the German national team. So his question being, what's your opinion about the whole transfer fee? Do you think this much fee was warranted, or probably Bayern could have chosen another coach?
Well, I just don't see what's wrong with it, if I'm honest. I mean, Bayern Munich, I think it was obvious they were going to make an approach to Leipzig for Nagelsmann, and I'm assuming I'm assuming he's obviously made his bosses or the board of directors there that he wants at least permission to speak to Bayern Munich. So why Leipzig can't? I don't. Yeah, why not? I've seen a few things on social media, sort of like showing a bit of disgruntlement. The fact there is managers now that the clubs are now taking fees for managers, but he's got a 2-year contract left. Why should they just roll over and say, yeah, you can speak to our manager, but you have to just give us a small amount of compensation? I really don't see an issue with it, Rithwik. I think, why not? What Leipzig, I think the friendly issue between, that's a different issue, isn't it? That's about Hansi Flick and them going to, and him obviously getting his contract terminated early and obviously going to Germany. I think that's sort of a separate matter. But Nagelsmann going to Bayern Munich and RB Leipzig demanding a transfer fee for him, yeah, I really don't see why not, because he's a big part of that club, and at the moment he's obviously he's an important factor at that club. So why not demand a fee for him?
And I mean, in my opinion, though, I think this probably was what Bayern wanted. This probably was what Nagelsmann wanted as well. He has been a childhood Bayern fan, and he's always mentioned that in the media as well, that he wanted to work at Bayern always. That was probably one of his biggest dreams as well, and he's finally got his job. But do you think this is the right time though, Chris? Because I think the room that he is getting at Leipzig, where he can probably afford to make mistakes, he won't be afforded that at Bayern for sure, because they are ruthless. They want results. They want gold medals and trophies lined up on the table as well. And judging by what we've seen of Nagelsmann in the past 2 years with Leipzig, I think he's been really good. I think he's been really, really good.
Yeah.
This season, I would say they could have pushed Bayern even further. But if you would have looked at both the squads as well, I kind of think that Leipzig were lacking a firepower up front, a proper striker who would get the goals up front. Neither Hwang Hee-chan, nor Sorloth, nor Yusuf Poulsen could kind of really, really impact the season. Hwang Hee-chan hasn't been influential at all. He had COVID, he had other troubles as well. So, and it's his first season in Germany, so it's the first, probably you can always spare the player, but he hasn't had too many avenues. And going out of the Champions League to a crippled Liverpool as well, I thought they weren't really pushing Liverpool in the two legs, in both legs actually, of that round of 16 in the Champions League. So, I mean, he did good, obviously, but I think at the end of it all, by the standards that he set so far, or the expectations that most people have of him, I thought that this season probably was a bit underwhelming though. A bit underwhelming.
Yeah, well, I think with Nagelsmann, there's certainly no doubt in his credibility as a coach. I think he's definitely he's certainly one of the best coaches in world football at the moment. You can't take that away from him. He really is. The way he gets his teams set up, the way he's very tactically flexible, isn't he? You can play a number of formations from a similar school of thought as what we've just mentioned there with Thomas Tuchel. So there's no point in me going over that again, because it sounds like it's two German coaches with the same principles. When you ask the question whether it is too soon because of the expectation level, I think it's easy to forget with Nagelsmann because of his age. He still is a very, very experienced man. Well, he is an experienced manager now, because he's been coaching top level football now since he was 28. I think he's 33 now, so I think this is his 5th season coaching top level football. He took Hoffenheim to the Champions League. He's had 2-year Champions League experience with RB Leipzig at the moment. And moving on to your other question as well, Rithwik, I thought they were underwhelming against Liverpool in the Champions League, but I also think it was probably Liverpool's best performance of the season, and that's not me getting a dig in at them. I just thought he controlled that game excellently. I really did, both times. well, it was sort of over after the first leg, if we're being honest. But I thought that was one of Liverpool's, certainly one of the best performances anyway. And when you look at the league or in the Bundesliga, they've actually, you've mentioned there an excellent point about the lack of firepower. I'll probably go out on a limb here and say if they didn't sell Timo Werner last year, that they probably would have won the league this year, because they've caught Bayern twice, and they've had an excellent chance in the last 6 weeks playing them, and they deserve to beat Bayern Munich when they played them. They just didn't have someone who could stick the ball in the net or be that little bit more decisive or cute in Bayern's penalty area. So I don't think he's gotten. I know where you're coming from. I totally agree with what you're saying. It's been a bit this season, but I actually think he's done a very good job to actually keep them second and within touching distance with Bayern without a credible striker.
Yeah, mate. Don't actually get me wrong though. 64 points from 31 matches so far this season. I think they are nailed on for second place right now, unless they lose all the remaining 3 games and Wolfsburg actually win all their remaining 3 games, and even Frankfurt do it. But I think they're pretty much nailed on for second spot. They might finish probably 7 or 10 points within Bayern Munich, which I don't think is like too bad. I don't think it's too bad. I think it's been a really good season with the squad that he's had. But like you said, I think probably I expect a bit more from Julian Nagelsmann, considering how good he is tactically, although he's young. So it makes, I don't think there's any doubt probably from my side whether he'll do well at Bayern Munich. I definitely think he's going to rock at Bayern Munich, and I don't see another club probably in the next 2-3 years breaking this Bayern monopoly in the Bundesliga. I just don't see that happening unless Marco Rose kind of rebuilds Borussia Dortmund or Jesse Marsch kind of rebuilds or kind of strengthens Leipzig even more, because they brought in a couple of they're actually going to lose probably 2 of their best centre backs, which are Upamecano moving to Bayern with Nagelsmann, and Konate might move to Liverpool if the rumors are supposed to be true. So if these things happen, they're going to replace them with Guardiola as well as Mohamed Simakan, who are 2 young centre backs who are really good. But I think that will probably take a bit of time. And Jesse Marsch coming in, I think you have to give the new manager time as well. Borussia Dortmund, again, Marco Rose are coming in. So I think it might take some time. I don't know, probably Wolfsburg, Glasner giving an outside or out of the box challenge to Bayern. But honestly, I don't see anyone actually challenging or probably dethroning Bayern. That would be the right word, dethroning Bayern from this monopoly anytime soon. So I think he's done a really good job there, unless he massively messes up. So I think I think the transfer fee probably is all worth it. Probably this probably will be a long-term spell for Nagelsmann, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, I think obviously the timing is good. I mean, Bayern Munich have got a lot of good. Well, not a lot, but they've got a core of young players coming through there, and who better than to coach them? I mean, he's obviously proven now he's very good at coaching young players. So I think the timing is good. I think I think from Leipzig's point of view and a transfer fee, I thought, and that's what it is. Let's call it what it is, a transfer fee. I thought they're well within the rights to claim that amount of money, and I think moving forward, whether other teams take note of that and start taking, then I think definitely they should do it, especially if it's a manager. I know, especially if it's a change mid-season. I think clubs should always demand the fee. If another club comes and tries to take your manager in the middle of the season, then the club should definitely charge and the well within the rights in terms of the contract duration. Then I think you'll start seeing this happen a little bit more.
Yeah, exactly. I think he had a lot of years on his contract as well, so it only makes sense if Leipzig maximize the money.
Yeah.
So and moving on to the second question though. Second and third questions, it's linked. So I'll start with the second though. starting with Julian Nagelsmann, obviously, there's been a merry-go-round of managers. Not starting with Julian Nagelsmann, sorry. Marco Rosa announced his move to Borussia Dortmund earlier.
Yeah.
And Marco Rosa moving from Gladbach to Dortmund. Nagelsmann moving from Leipzig to Bayern, and you have Jesse Marsch coming in from Salzburg, who's again a Red Bull club actually, to Leipzig, and you have Adi Hutter replacing Marco Rosa, who's going to move from Eintracht Frankfurt to Borussia Mönchengladbach. So it's a merry-go-round, and there's been rumors of Glasner as well, the Wolfsburg manager, moving probably to another club. I don't know where. So probably Salzburg, I'm hearing, where he links up once again, coming home. That's what a lot of people have said. So there's a lot of merry-go-round in this top Bundesliga clubs this season. What do you actually think of all this? Because I heard various opinions from people. I've heard people say that announcing the manager change in a lot of big teams in the middle of a season probably it's not probably healthy for competition. I've heard people say that. Do you actually agree with the sentiment?
Yeah, it's hard not to, innit? I mean, obviously, I think this year is just coincidental in terms of the amount of changes that you're seeing. Let's not forget as well, Leverkusen got rid of, dispose of Peter Bosch as well. And I don't think they've announced who their next manager is going to be. But so I think that will be the top 7 places, won't it? If I'm not, I'd have to double check that. But I think the top 7 places are all going to have new managers next season. If obviously that's obviously depending on the Wolfsburg situation, of course. But yeah, in terms of the actual managerial turnaround, it's sort of, I mean, that wouldn't faze me. It's the announcements, I think. But then it's not uncommon in Germany. It's quite a common thing, isn't it, for German clubs to announce that their managers are going to be leaving at the end of the season, or this manager is going to come in, or this transfer is going to happen. So, I mean, I've got a bit of an issue with it. I mean, it would probably annoy me if it was my club, if I knew the manager was, because it's human nature certainly for some people, that if you know a manager is leaving, to just slack off or sort of rest on your laurels a little bit. And I know that was thrown at Borussia Mönchengladbach when Marco Rosa announced obviously he was going to Dortmund. Whether you see it with Leipzig over the next couple of weeks and that, I'm not too sure. But yeah, I mean, I don't know about yourself. I just think there's a little bit of a principle that should be taken in these matters. A little bit more respect.
I mean, I was actually talking to a Bayern Munich fan quite a few days back on a WhatsApp football group actually, and I mean, the reasoning that he probably said was that you don't see a more competitive rivalry in Germany. It's more like a traditional one.
Yeah.
So that kind of explains the whole thing. Why none of the clubs are too worried about the whole fiasco. But once again, when you see, like, you support Everton, I support Liverpool, we've been supporting English clubs, people have been supporting Spanish clubs as well. I mean, people who've been supporting the clubs from other countries, they actually come and say that this is kind of weird because you are kind of breaking competition in the middle of a season.
Yeah,
even when the Upamecano transfer happened, though. I mean, even when the Upamecano transfer happened, it was probably the same thing because Leipzig that time was Bayern's title challenger. They were in the challenge. Yeah. They were in contention, and Bayern Munich went and announced Upamecano. So probably some of the fans outside Germany felt that it was kind of weird and kind of polarizing.
I think it's situational, isn't it? I think if you look at it this season, it hasn't really. Well, I mean, the Upamecano one that got announced when it looked like Bayern Munich were going to be runaway leaders, and then Leipzig actually crawled it back a little bit after that, and actually come back into the title race after that. So, but the obvious one, isn't it, is going back to 2013 when the Champions League, when Dortmund were due to play Bayern Munich in a Champions League final, and 3 days it was certainly the same week they announced that they were signing Mario Götze. I mean, and certainly at that point he was one of Dortmund's certainly one of the most important, if not best players. So obviously that just in itself, it's just whether it had an effect on him or the team or not is not really relevant for me. It's just to have a little bit more respect. There's absolutely no need. That transfer couldn't just wait. Everyone knows, if all the parties know and it's all agreed, why does it have to come out? I just don't get that need for it to come out. Now, the Marco Rose one, even though Dortmund and Gladbach were not in a title race, they were still at the point. I know Gladbach have had a little bit of an off season anyway. Obviously, they had no win, not going to qualify for the Champions League now, but they were still in the running. They were still in the running for fourth place, or certainly in the mix. And then Frankfurt as well. Frankfurt, now Adi, who said whether people might say he's going backwards, so it shouldn't really have an effect. Frankfurt were looking very good at that stage until that transfer got announced. So I get what your friend has said there, that obviously because all the rivalries seem to be traditional as opposed to, say, a more heated rivalry, I still don't think it's needed. But I suppose, again, it's situational. Like I said, I think maybe this year the teams have just got carried away because they've just thought, well, Bayern Munich are going to win the league anyway. That it's not really having any bearing on, or certainly the Nagelsmann to Bayern Munich one. I don't think that's actually going to have any bearing on a title race at this point. But I think sometimes I think they should just. I don't see the need to announce it. I don't see why it needs to come out unless there's something that I'm missing. But why couldn't they say Adi, who's the one to Gladbach, or the Marco Rose one to Dortmund? Why couldn't I have just waited to the end of the season?
Yeah, absolutely.
It weren't like, obviously if it's agreed in principle behind the scenes, then it's not like anyone else can come in and take him anyway.
Yeah, once you sign the contract or a pre-agreement, I think it probably has to be there. I mean, it's probably a gentleman thing to probably agree or probably announce it at least at the end of the season.
Yeah.
And
go on, sorry, mate.
Yeah, go on, Chris.
It's just a bit, don't get me wrong, obviously, I'm only looking, living in England and looking at it, and obviously being a fan of an English club, I'm only looking at it from the outside looking in. So maybe German fans are a little bit different, and their culture's a little bit different to say, oh, well, it doesn't really bother us. Do you know what I mean? It's just maybe you could maybe say that it's a little bit of forward thinking and good planning by the clubs, getting things in preparation so that their pre-season sort of goes more fluidly and it sort of gets underway correctly and appropriately, and there's no sort of disharmony and there's no sort of what's the right word? There's a little bit everything's sure. Do you know what I mean? Everyone knows what's going to happen. So maybe if they look at it from a point of view that it's classed as good planning.
Yeah.
And I understand that, but I just think there's a little bit more principle in the matter, and that these clubs should just wait till the end of the season, especially if all the houses are in order and every party knows and they all know what's what and everything's been signed and there's no mishap in communication. Just leave it till the end of the season. The media don't need to know. They're going to speculate anyway. Yeah. So,
I mean, the Bundesliga is an amazing football league, and it's bonkers sometimes. Just like this season, where you've had I think they had 13 different coaching changes during the season. Although more than half of it is made by Schalke and Mainz combined. Schalke had 4 different changes already, and Mainz did 3 changes this season. So already this season they've had 13 different changes. So it's bonkers this season, So,
yeah.
And moving on to Dieter's third question though, Jesse Marsch at Leipzig. Do you think he's gonna win a trophy in his first season?
I'm not too sure, because I've mentioned this before about Leipzig, and it's a sort of, I'm surprised they give up Nagelsmann. So I might go around the houses a little bit here, but I'm surprised. It's like a restart, isn't it? Every time they appoint a new manager, I know we know the philosophy of the club, and they expect, and we know that sort of, they make the transition from manager to manager quite easy, because they all come through the same sort of school of thought. But it's still essentially a reset every time they appoint a new manager, because you might come in, and obviously you'll change things slightly, even though the principles might stay the same. And I'm not sure he will yet. I'm not sure. You might see a little bit more of a transitional season for RB Leipzig like next year. I think he's a very good coach, Jesse Marsch. I think he's shown that. He's shown that certainly when he speaks, he comes across very well. His ideas are very clear, so that should translate to the players very good. But I think it's well too early to say, well, he's gonna either take Leipzig up to the next level, because they're already at that level, really. I think where they should be a little bit more. They should be winning a lot more than what they have, or so certainly competing to win a lot more than what they have. Obviously, I know that might change, because we know that they're in a final against Borussia Dortmund this year at the DFB, aren't they? So maybe that little trophy hoodoo might be there for him to take on to the next level. But I think it's too early to say whether he's gonna go on and bring success in terms of trophies to the club. I think that's a podcast in itself to talk about Jesse Marsch, the manager. But
absolutely. I mean, I've heard some of his podcasts as well, where he's spoken, where he's spoken to Ekner and Abel Mazzaros. They have a podcast. I forgot the name of the podcast though, and the one with your other Bundesliga as well, a couple of years back when he came to Austria to manage Salzburg. So he speaks really well, and he seems like a really, really nice guy too. So
yeah, I mean, absolutely.
I kind of like him, and I probably want him to succeed as well in Germany.
Yeah, and I think he's very much part of the Red Bull regime, isn't he? So he knows the club as well, having coached it under Ralf Rangnick a couple of years ago. So I think he'll be given time. I think he'll certainly be. I don't think there's going to be a drop off at all. I think they'll still be up there in the Champions League places. Still think they'll be up there as maybe the second or third club, which is where they are. So I don't think there's going to be a drop off at all. I just think it's a little bit too early right now to say they're going to go on to the level, certainly in the next level, certainly in the immediate future. And given as well the fact that it is actually Nagelsmann that is in charge of Bayern Munich. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. So that brings us to the end of this episode. Thank you so much once again, Chris. I mean, a week without doing this podcast kind of feels like a long time though.
Yeah, it does, mate. Yeah, it does. But obviously understanding the circumstances for yourself as well. So
exactly, yeah.
Yeah, so, and thank you as well.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure speaking to you, and thank you once again to all our patrons, Peter especially, for these amazing questions as well, and to all our listeners as usual for supporting our show. Thank you so much. Until next episode, bye bye. Take care.